Hello dear friends, Patrick here. I hope it's not too windy. Video number 2 in a 3-part video series directed at Doomers, inspired by a gentleman by the name of Wojak. Wojak, I hope you're doing well. God bless you wherever you are. Oh man, it's windy, so I know that's going to affect the sound, so I apologize for that. But I wanted to make this second video to tell you, the first video I talked about the foundational principle that you have to have faith to succeed in life. Essentially, that's my argument. Maybe I'm wrong. If you have something that goes against that statement, be happy to hear it. This video, I'm going to talk about my own personal circumstance. I come from a family of 9 children. My dad worked hard his whole life. Imagine, I have memories as a child of sitting on my dad's lap with a bunch of us scrambling around to get his attention because he was home so rarely, and would be sitting on his lap and he'd be smoking a cigarette with one hand in his head and just, you know, like in totally a blank look on his face, not realizing at the time that he was probably just, you know, living paycheck to paycheck, wondering how the hell is he going to take care of 9 children. The guy worked his ass off. I have great respect for my dad, and I'm thankful that he always provided for us, in spite of the fact that he smoked and drank and, you know, he was rarely home. And he worked all over the place. He worked in northern Canada, almost in every province as a mechanic, a salesman. He did whatever he could to provide for his family. And for that reason, I'm very thankful, and I pray that God blesses him no matter where he is at any time. And so, coming from that background, working class, dirt poor, I mean, you know, the rare times when groceries had come in the door, they would disappear. Imagine fighting with your siblings to be able to have food, or to fight over an orange, or to fight over a packet of cookies that may come through the door. I didn't come from a wealthy background, poor working class background. And this video, I'd like to just share with you a little bit of my background so that you can relate to what I'm saying. I'm not speaking from a condescending position. I'm not speaking and saying, oh, you know, you should do better because I did better. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that I ended up doing better because God had mercy on me. I want to give glory to God, not to myself, okay? Now, move forward. I get through high school. I'm in with the wrong crowd in high school. Yet I realize from an early age, because of some of my older brothers doing well in school and being able to go to university, they're much older than me, 10 years older than me, that I realized, oh, if I do well in school, I may have better opportunities to me. Somewhere that clicked in, and I didn't end up getting kicked out of school like some of my friends did, and so some of the people I hung out with. So I ended up doing well in high school. I was in Quebec, and after high school in Quebec, you go 2 years of college before you have the opportunity to go to university. So I went to college for 2 years. When in my last year of high school, they said, you can take whatever class you want. I did relatively well. And they said, you can take physics, chemistry, you can take that. I said, what's commerce? They said, oh, that's about money. I said, that's what I want. I knew from an early age that I did want to prosper. I had this idea saying, I want to do well. You know, I had the paper route, and I started to make a little bit of money, and I realized money is a good thing, right? It helps to make your life better than it was before. And especially coming from when you never had any money. Once you make a little bit, and you can go to the dépanneur and buy some candy or some popsicles or whatever they sell, then you realize, yeah, it's good to have money. Anyway, so fast forward, I do that. I go to university in Montreal. I get a degree. Later on, I went and got a second degree in Ottawa. Doesn't matter. I enjoyed studying. I liked studying a lot. I've always loved studying. And so I start work in the workforce. That's a whole long story I'm not going to get into. But I want to tell you quickly that I ended up getting married, and the first marriage didn't work out. But I want to fast forward through a lot of the struggles that I had in my life to the point when I left Toronto and ended up moving to a city called Kitchener, which is a ways from where I am now. I've settled to a small town, pardon me, in Ontario, not too far away. a couple hours from Toronto maybe. And so when I left at that time, I had just gotten divorced. I gave everything to my ex that I had. She got the house, she got the kids, she got her car paid for. Everything that I owned, I fit into a broken down Ford Tempo, and that's what I came to a new city with. Zero. Now, if I had come to a city and was living in my car, I could have become a doomer. I could have said, well, you know, I guess things just aren't going to work out for me, and I guess I might as well just live in my car, and maybe I can apply for welfare. You know, we live in a socialist country. There's a social safety net. You can apply for some subsistence from the government. You can go to food banks and so on and so forth. But I didn't do that. The reason I didn't do that was because I had a level of faith. Where did that faith come from? It was built, foundationally, obviously built from biblical principles. And what I did when I was in school, I did a smart thing, was I studied and researched every motivational speaker I could find, from Anthony Robbins to Benjamin Franklin. And if you look at 99% of the material that they use to encourage people and be a blessing to people and strengthen the faith of people, which is really the business that they're in. Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, actually even Donald Trump at the time was on the motivational circuit. I almost went to see him at one of these sales seminars, but I didn't. But he was kind of almost in that category, but I'm not going to talk about him because that's a lightning post that a lot of people really get triggered by, so I'm not going to talk about that. But anyway, you know what I mean? These other people that were popular, inspirational people that would encourage you. You'd go to a seminar, you'd pay to get in, and they would fire you up, especially if you were in the sales business or something like that, right? Anyway, that's what I fed on. I studied, and 99% of the material that these people use, I found could be traced back to biblical principles, the teachings of Solomon, right? Solomon taught, if you are diligent in what you do, you're going to benefit from it. And all the principles of Solomon, the book of wisdom is not even in the Bible. The book of wisdom is in the Catholic Bible, but it's not in the Protestant Bible. Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, I studied those. I remember reading something from Proverbs every day when I would take the train to go to school in Quebec. I would read Proverbs every day. I would read Proverbs, something from Proverbs or Ecclesiastes or the Book of Wisdom, and just let it sink in over and over and over again. Because I knew, even at that time, that this is what formed the foundation of those motivational speakers. And I wanted to be motivated. I wanted to succeed. This was the time in the 80s where, you know, Wall Street was a popular movie, and everybody was like, you know, making money in stocks and wanting to get the BMW, and they were doing multi-level marketing was all over the place. It was a big thing. I could tell you stories about that whole area, which I definitely don't want to get into. But you know, all these different business plans and trying to make money in stocks and trying to make money doing this and that. It was like this energy that people were crazy about making money, especially if you were in a, you know, downtown Toronto or downtown Montreal, and you could almost feel this motivation. So I was highly motivated. I came to Kitchener with, as I said, what I fit in my car, and I was defeated. I was broken down, but I did have that faith foundation in my mind, and I called out to God. I said, God, please help me to do well. Help me to have an opportunity. So I found a dear person that I was able to stay at their apartment until I could get on my feet. I went out, I got a full straight commission sales job, and I worked my butt off. And from that point, I met very soon after, I met an amazing person that I could partner with. And together, we were able to buy our first property after much scrimping and saving and hard work. We were both starting from zero. I remember when I met this person, they had nothing. And they didn't even have, they weren't even sure if they were going to be able to stay in the country. And together, we renovated that first property we bought. We were able to sell it for a profit. We did the same thing a second time and a third time. Eventually, we ended up having a multi-million-dollar home in that city with a half-acre lot overlooking the river, and that was a beautiful blessing to us. We had a blessed life. Now we are getting older. We're able to downsize and sell that off at the peak. Now we are God has blessed us that we're in a home that is paid off free and clear. I don't make a lot of money, but I have enough money to give to charity, to give to others. That's why you'll see a lot of comments on my channel from people. I'll see people that have channels in the Philippines, and I see the living conditions, and I think, I'd like to encourage this person. I'd like to be a blessing to this person. And so I donate a little bit to their channel. And then they tell their friends and say, oh, this person likes to donate to channel. I like to donate to other people's channels. I like to support some little ministries, you know, if I can, if I see somebody that's serving in a street ministry that's helping people that are doomers, that are on drugs. I'm thankful to God that I have the opportunity to be a blessing to others. As I say, I'm in a position now where I have residual income, not a lot, but enough that allows me to give to others. And I'm totally debt-free. I'm able to help others. I take care of a dear relative that is handicapped, and so I'm able to do that. And these things that I've been able to accomplish, where I'm essentially living in God's kingdom, financially free, stress-free, no worries. Now my health is failing, unfortunately, and that's something I greatly miss. But my concerns are different from the doomer concerns. The doomer is concerned about his day-to-day survival, whether he's going to get money to eat next week. I don't have those concerns anymore. Why? Because there was a point in my life where I put God first, and I asked him to strengthen my faith. And said, God, I can't do it on my own anymore. I'm divorced. I have nothing. I'm living out of my car, and I need help. That was the first half. The second half, as I mentioned in the first video, is that I believed that God was going to help me. Not because of anything that I deserve, but because of what he said in his word. He said, if I didn't hold back from fulfilling what I wanted to fulfill through the life of my son, how much more will I freely give you all things? And I said, I don't deserve it, but I'm going to stand on what God said, not what I think. And that made all the difference, that God promised that he cares about humans and he wants to help them. And that's a very difficult concept for people to believe. They say, that's just your religion, and that's just that and that. I think it's a universal principle of faith that applies to any religion, no matter what you believe. If you don't believe that good can come to you, you're in a world of trouble. Does that make sense? And so from that time that I came from arriving in that city with nothing to my name to reaching, I hate to say it, but essentially a millionaire status, was probably, I don't know, 15 years, maybe 20 years. It took a long time. It wasn't just, some people do it faster, some people do it slower. And so that's the current situation that I'm in today. And I don't want to boast about it, but I want to say that how it's possible. Don't forget, when I graduated from school, they had this thing called affirmative action. I applied to work in the government of Canada in Ottawa, and they straight out told me. They weren't shy about it. Like today, no one would tell you that today. But at that time, they said, we have this thing called affirmative action. Are you Indigenous? I said, well, I don't have my status card. And they said, oh, sorry, we can't help you. I said, what do you mean? Well, you know, we're hiring on an affirmative action basis, it's called, and you know, we need to blah 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 blah. They essentially told me because of the color of my skin, I could not get a job with the government, and it didn't stop there. I went to interview after I graduated with a Fortune 500 company, and I went and I applied, and there were myself and 3 other people that were, we would say today, visible minority or BIPOC or from East Asia, whatever you want to say. And we had to do these aptitude tests. They said that I scored the highest that they ever seen. Now, I don't know if they're pulling my leg, but this is what they told me, right? And again, what did they say? I'm sorry, sir, we have this affirmative action program. We would love to have you join our organization, but there may be opportunities later in the future. Could you believe that? They wouldn't give me a job, even though I was the best candidate for the position, Why? Because I was white. Because of the demographic, male, white male. That was a taboo that was just starting to be implemented at that time. This is going back to the 80s and early 90s. Can you imagine? Did it bother me? Maybe for 24 hours. I didn't care. I was like, there's more opportunities out there. Why? Because I had been trained in motivation. I had been trained in positive thinking, positive expectation, faith, the positive expectation that something better is just around the corner, the positive expectation, the belief that God is on your side. If you have that, nothing can stop you. You may have a few doors closed in your face, but if you say, oh, the system's against me because of the color of my skin, or the system's against me because of the demographic that I'm a part of, no, you're looking at it all wrong. You have to have that positive expectation in spite of that. You know, there's a story where it says the apostles were fishing. They're fishing all night. They didn't catch anything. And Jesus comes along and says, just throw your net on the other side of the boat. It doesn't make any sense. It's the same ocean. You know, if I was looking for a position and someone said, oh, just try at this other spot, and then boom, I get a job. How is it possible? Because if you have God directing you, then it's the same job market. But if you have God directing you and says, here, try this job. And you say, well, you know, I tried on my own, God, and it didn't work out, but at your behest, I'm going to go ahead and try, and boom, the miracle happens. The miracle happens when you listen and ask God for help, and you expect Him to help you, and then you have that positive expectation of succeeding, whatever it is you're trying to do, whether it's meeting a new person, getting a new job. If you expect what you've already gotten, right? What did Zig Ziglar say? If you keep on doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep on getting what you've been getting, right? If you say, well, I never get the job, and, you know, it's never going to work out for me. You're right. You're gonna keep getting what you've been getting, but you have to make that switch where you say, okay, I failed in the past, but now I'm going to start. So I just want, the reason why I made this second video about the logistics of my own personal life is because I want to prove to you that it is possible to go from nothing to succeeding. That's one of the best ways to get inspired. When you see that someone else can do it, it's first-hand proof that things are possible when faith is put into the mix. This is what you will hear from every motivational speaker out there. And a lot of them make their living doing motivational speaking. They haven't actually done the nuts and bolts of success. Some of them have. But you know what I mean? Like, I actually had to go out and get a job and start making money and save money to save up for my first property to invest in, to buy. And it was from the sweat of my brow and the sweat of my spouse and so on. So you have to put the effort in, of course. But if God is not in the mix, you can try all day and just face closed doors. And I've seen it, not just in my own life, but in the lives of other people that I know personally, that they have succeeded because they had faith. They had a positive expectation of good. And I can't emphasize this enough. Is it easier if you happen to believe in God and listen to the words that He spoke? Of course. Of course, because there is so much in Scripture that is positive, faith-building, strengthening words, right? He said, if you have my words and you keep them, I'm going to come and make my home with you. God's basically saying, I'm going to live with you in your house if you put my words into your heart and make them the most important thing. What an insane promise, but it's in there. It's in there. And so many other things. Solomon, they said, was the smartest man, and he had so many words of good advice, good wisdom to protect you from going down the wrong path. Because once you start going down that path, it gets darker and darker and worse, and you reach a point where you're rock bottom and you're like, oh, I can't get out of here. I can't. Even God doesn't want me to get out of here. Don't let yourself get trapped into that. I was able to succeed because I put my faith in God, and He lifted me up. I could tell you so many stories of divine, miraculous provision, but it would take me hours. So that's the second video, the logistics. The third one will be the hardest one to get through. I hope you're able to view it, but if not, God bless you. Thank you for watching. I love you. Spend time with people you love. We'll talk to you again real soon, okay? Take care. Bye-bye for now.